Okay, so what have we done thus far? We've already discussed, brothers and sisters, that the current way we give the da'wah is failing in some form, or we have the knowledge, or we may not have the knowledge, but significantly, we do not have the roadmap, the framework, a methodology to be effective, especially in a Western context. By the way, there's many other ways to give da'wah, but we just humbly feel this is the most universal way for atheists, Christians, Buddhists, Hindus, everybody. So you don't have to be a master of every single topic and then give da'wah. But this is wrong, because one of the dangers in having a contemporary approach to the da'wah based upon even the likes of Ahmed Didat, may Allah have mercy on him, Zakir Naik, Yusuf Estes and others, it creates a high priest mentality of the da'wah. Oh, we have to have all this knowledge before we know anything about da'wah. No, that's not true. I want to show you today that with what you already know, you can be more effective than many of the famous du'at. You have to believe this in yourself. Don't allow shaitan to use your own voice against you. Islam has an art, and that art is the power of positive thinking. It's not, I can't, I wouldn't, I shouldn't, I don't know. This is shaitan using your own voice against you, because he is making you think that in the future, in the next 5 minutes, 5 days or 5 years, you don't have the ability. Only Allah knows that, not you, and not shaitan using your own voice against you. Did someone just say yes? Alright. So the point is, brothers and sisters, we need to be positive in our approach, because we believe in Allah. Allah is the only source of power. What do we say? La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. What does that really mean here in the heart of the Muslim? It means there is no true power apart from the power of Allah. So that means even shaitan using your own voice against you has no power. Even your doubts have no power. Because things only happen because of the will and power of Allah Azza wa Jal. This is why the Sahaba would do things that we probably would describe as crazy. Because we've been affected by the negative thinking. And thinking that the material world has true power, has innate power, has intrinsic value. But it doesn't. These are just tools that Allah uses to bring about His qadr and His qudra, His will and His power. And I ask you the question, do you know the will of Allah? No. So that means we have an infinite realm of possibility to achieve what we can. If you truly understand Tawheed, if you truly understand there is no power apart from the power of Allah, you will never, ever, ever be negative. Ever. This is the whole point of Qadr. The whole point of Qadr in the Quran is not to teach you philosophy, not to get you confused, is to empower you. Because what does Allah use? The concept of Qadr in the Quran. Allah says, if the whole world were to harm you, they would never harm you unless it's in line with the will of Allah. If the whole world were to benefit you, they could never benefit you unless in line with the will of Allah Azza wa Jal. So don't believe why many of us Muslims are very negative and we're victims. We blame others all the time. It's the Zionists, it's the Israelis, it's the Americans, it's the media, it's this, that and the other. SubhanAllah, we have made gods of these people. Israel is like a deity, a god. The Zionists are gods for us in a way. The media is a god. Do you know why? Because you think it has power to affect you. Think about that for a while. So the point is, brothers and sisters, today is going to be an empowering process. You're not going to learn anything from me. Don't think you'll learn anything from Hamza. What does Hamza know? Greek man from Hackney, converted just 10 years ago. I'm a baby.
You are?
Exactly. You're not going to learn anything from me. Rather, what I'm going to do though, is take whatever you know and restructure it to make you feel powerful. Excited?
Yeah, inshallah.
If Birmingham were playing Man United, you'd be like, come on! When it comes to the Dean, yeah.
Ask the question again.
I'm not going to ask the question, I know what I'm going to say. Inshallah. Takbir! Takbir! Nare Takbir! Pakistani style. Okay, good. Right. So let's start with initiation. And let me give you an example of how this works. Brother, come, Fahad. Okay, now, and listen because it's an example, because you are going to practice this with your partners, okay? I am a Muslim this time, he is the non-Muslim. And there's two types of initiation. Listen, brothers and sisters, the first type of initiation is when he asks the question to me. The second type of initiation is when I approach him to try and get him involved in the da'wah. Okay? So he's a non-Muslim, I'm a Muslim. So the first one is he's going to ask the question to me. And think very carefully what's been happening. So, say we have a da'wah school at college. And he comes, he asks me a question.
Could you tell me about Islam?
Give me a question.
I believe in the Trinity.
Thank you very much for coming to the table. So, what's your name?
Fahad.
Fahad, to see you. My name is Hamza. You know, this is very interesting because I converted to Islam and have these questions all the time. But what I realized is that in order for you to understand the answer, you have to understand the concept of Islam. You have some time?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Listen. You see what's happened here? People skills. I'm not like, what are you getting aggressive for, man?
Why are you aggressive?
I look at you, bro. So the point is, you know, Muslims should never be like that generally. I know it's a constructed environment, but we all get like, I get like that. What we have to understand is, we have to empathize with people. No question's a bad question. Even the EDO, if they want to come to you, stand up, bro, and say, oi, you want Sharia law? Yes or no? What are you going to do? I know what you guys are going to do. Yeah? Yeah? When you look around your shoulder, it's like, you know. The point is, we should never be like that. Wallahi. When was the last time a little blood was spilled or tears run down our face for the sake of Allah? We have it easy in this country. When someone does that, you have to understand that is a symptom of an underlying cause. So don't look at the symptom, go to the cause. It's because he's ignorant. Because we haven't done our job from telling people who and what Islam is. He has issues, some of them justified. If I was a working class white man, it was to do the Seletis versus the Chittagonians. So don't talk to me about racism. We've got the worst racism. Don't we get these people? Allah doesn't make it work that way. Ibn Taymiyyah, a famous scholar, he said that Allah prefers a just ruler to an unjust one. Justice is primary. It's one of the maqasid, one of the objectives of Islamic law. And we complain saying, EDO, they're so racist. They're a minority. For the majority of us, we have EDO in our own hearts. Trust me, a black man coming to the mosque, he gives you shahada, Allahu Akbar. Then he comes to you, want to marry your daughter, he's like, what? Come on, people will lie, wake up. Yeah? And don't say, oh, look at Hamza, he's Muslim hating. Yeah, I am. Get over it, because it's true. It's in our community. Take it out. And it's subconscious, that's the worst thing. It's subconscious. Intellectually we're not racist, but subconsciously we are. Because we don't interact with each other. I'm from Hackney. There's a huge Gujarati community with their own mosque. Deen this, deen that, Quran this, Sunnah that. You tell me one Gujarati sister married to another brother. They would would even marry that sister to a non-practicing Gujarati rather than a practicing black man. He deals at home, bro. Don't know what you're complaining for. Don't know why you're doing the Muslim Defense League. If that's the case, you would start with the Muslims first. You get the point? It's something to realize. You know why I'm mentioning this? So we have empathy when we talk to other people. And it works. If you really understand where they're coming from. So listen. Smile. Acknowledge their question. No question is stupid. Don't try and reverse the table. You know when someone says, why do you guys kill people? You know what someone will say? Yeah, but what about capitalism in it? Iraq War. As if that guy was at fault for the whole Iraq War. It's ridiculous. We have this really defensive, apologetic mindset. We need to stop that. You say to him, I agree where you're coming from. He's a product of what information he's immersed himself in. Sky News, media, etc. So, validate his question. You know what, I had the same question before. I empathize, I really understand where you're coming from. And this is the crux of the matter. The most important part is the concept. Then you say, however, in order for you to understand the answer, you have to understand the concept of Islam. Do you have some time? Because the concept of Islam is everything. And that's how you lead everybody to the go-round, to Tawheed. And it works when they talk about stoning. It works when they talk about the beard, hijab. So even if he said, why does your wife wear hijab? You know, that's a very interesting question. In order for you to understand why women wear hijab in Islam, you have to understand the concept of Islam. The only contention and objection is that they would say, I want a yes or no answer. And just reply to them. I can't give you yes or no answer because it doesn't work that way. Our answer is the concept. For example, what is your name? Yes or no? How many days in the week? Yes or no? Do you believe in abortion? Yes or no? Is that going to be reflective of your perspective just by answering yes or no? You see, now you're dealing with him as a human being. In Islam, the answer is the concept. Do you have some time? And then if they're insincere, they become sincere. Because they're like, oh, I really want to answer, you're saying this is the answer. So I can't just demand a yes or no, because I know that's not the answer. So I either walk away like an idiot, or stay and listen. Even work with the EDL. Some guy called Terry came up to me and said, oh, you want Sharia law? Yes or no? Yes or no? Yeah, it's on YouTube. There's a longer version. At the end, he hugged me. When's the last time you got hugged by EDL man? His closest words, because we've got to be human beings. Not human doings, human beings. Speak in robotic mode. And I saw it with many brothers. I was saying a question, they weren't even listening to me, they're manufacturing a response. We do that with our wives a lot. She's talking, we're like, yeah, but. The moment you say yeah, but, it means you weren't listening. It means you were manufacturing a response while you were listening. We have to pick up the psychology of the Sunnah, which is listening with the intention to understand. If you adopt that approach, you connect with human beings. But many of us, we think we know it all. Yesterday it happened to me. You might be in this room. Some guy came up to me saying, you have to do this with Christianity, you have to do Bible, this and this. And I was trying to talk to him about science and how science is limited, we shouldn't always use it as a proof, whatever the case may be. And he was doing this. Let me show you. He's looking around, nothing. I said, bro, you never listen to me. We're never going to connect. You're not listening to me. And wallahi, I've got a really good habit finding out if someone's listening or not. Yeah? He's like, yeah. Yeah, then he goes, but. I said, bro, that just shows you I'm listening. What did I say? He couldn't even say. So we need to have an intention to understand. So, then you get agreement. Now, be careful. If someone comes up to you and says, you guys kill babies, then you're not going to say, in order for you to understand the answer, you have to understand the concept of Islam. It's implying that we kill babies. For silly questions like that, you say, no, we don't. And then you say, but in order for you to understand any answer concerning Islam, you have to understand this concept. Does this make sense?
No.
Good. And let me do the second type of initiation. He's in the college campus. I'm giving flyers out. So he's walking to me. Hey, bro, good to see you. You know, he says, is life just a game? We're talking about the purpose of life, and you know, we believe we have the purpose of life. You got 5 minutes to discuss it?
Yeah, 5 minutes.
Well, you know, the way to understand the purpose of life, we believe as Muslims, is to basically understand the whole concept of Islam. Because that gives you the purpose of life. Do you have a few minutes?
Yeah, sure.
See what I've done? The same thing, but I've initiated it and brought him to the concept. I could do the same. Today we're talking about morality, what is good and what is bad. You got some time to discuss this? Well, in order for you to understand what is good and what is bad, you have to understand the concept of Islam. It's so easy, isn't it?
Look, this one.
You're done. Fully cooked. The point is, he's really well cooked. You know, bless him, yeah? There was statistics done, research done, that people fear public speaking more than death. He's overcome death. So, do you see how easy initiation is? I'm telling you, you could do with any question, anything, and it goes straight to the concept. And then you're leading the discussion now, you're taking them to Tawheed, and you're giving them Dawah. How simple was that? So let me just summarize. 2 ways you could do it. You approach them with a question, and then say, in order for you to understand the answer, you have to understand the concept of Islam. Or if they ask you a question, that's a very interesting question, but in order for you to understand the answer, you have to understand the concept of Islam. Do you have some time? Adab, akhlaq, smiles. Easy?
Yes.
Stand up. Everybody stand up. Now find a partner and make sure you do initiation. Both of you do it. So you both have the chance to be a Muslim and a non-Muslim. You've got 5 minutes. Could the universe come from nothing? Why?
Laws of physics. Something can't come out.
Because the brother is saying in the laws of physics, from nothing, nothing comes. Good. Any other answers? Sisters, think about this, and you remember this. Who likes chocolate cake? Put your hand up. Most of you are lying. How can sisters not put their hand up, man? So, imagine you're baking a chocolate cake. Or you want to bake a chocolate cake, and I say to you, you know what? Here's a chocolate cake. And I say it just came from nothing. Would you believe me? In order to make a chocolate cake, what do you have to do?
Make it.
Make it. Ingredients. It's coming from a process. Something is happening. Good. Also, we know that the universe is going to come from nothing because, think about it mathematically. What is 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0? 0. Or if you're a Platonist, 4 zeros. Are we going to get philosophical there? Yeah? It's still 0. Kuchne and Kuchne and Kuchne. You still have Kuchne. Yeah? Nothing is still nothing. So we know the universe is going to come from, nothing. Right. Could the universe create itself? Why? Why, sister? Why couldn't the universe create itself? Yes. Nothing creates itself. Excellent. And I give an example by making you think, can your mother give birth to herself? It's impossible. Because the process of birth means once you weren't alive. But she's already alive and she has to make herself alive. It's what you call a paradox. It means that something must exist and not exist at the same time, which is impossible. This whole room couldn't exist and not exist at the same time. Can I exist and not exist at the same time?
No.
Unless I'm a beer. I'm only kidding. So, do you get the point? Does everyone get the point? Can you give birth to yourself? No. Because for something to be created, it means it once wasn't existing. But to self-create means it already has to be there in order to make itself from not being there, be there. It's a confusing paradox. So we know it couldn't create itself. So what's the best explanation?
It also eliminates number one. Number two eliminates number one.
Yes, it does. But what is the best explanation? The universe was?
Created by something.
Can't hear you.
Created.
The universe was?
Created.
Good. Now there's only one major counter-argument. Who knows what it is?
Who created the created?
You created the creator.
Chef. We give ijazah to Chef. Okay? Chef al-Dawah. Inshallah, tabarakallah. The contention is, well, who created the creator? Who can answer that question? Yes, brother.
Yeah, you can't have there must be something that was just there, because if somebody created that, when somebody created that, they would go and nothing to create.
The brother's right. Because if you say, who created the creator, then why don't we ask the question, who created the creator that created the creator? Then who created the creator that 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 created the creator? If that goes on forever, you would never have creation. For example, if I'm a Marine and I want to shoot an enemy combatant, bang! But before I shoot, I have to ask permission from the Marine behind me. And that Marine has to ask permission. If that goes on forever, I'm never going to shoot. It's like walking to a tunnel when you hear an echo of your name. Hamza, 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 Hamza. Was that going on forever? It's impossible because you wouldn't be able to hear Hamza if it was going on forever. Because you know there must have been a beginning where someone said, Hamza. Same with the creator, there must be an uncreated creator, otherwise you wouldn't have creation. And the interesting thing is this, no one denies that something could be uncreated. It's either the universe is uncreated, or what created the universe is uncreated. Make your mind up. We know the universe must be created because it began. Does that make sense? And whatever begins, creates, has been created. But the creator never began. So the very reason that we have the whole universe is because there is an uncreated creator. If this creator was also created, if that goes on forever, you will never have creation. Does that make sense? Yes, brother.
Sometimes they say, there's always a beginning and an end for things that are created, that began. Because things that don't begin are not created. The question doesn't apply. It's like saying, you know that thing that never began? How did it begin? It never began. You see, it's called a paradox. You know that thing that never began? How did it begin? You just agreed it didn't begin then. So the question doesn't apply. Is everybody happy with this point?
Well, just before I go and come back to that's also been confirmed with the Higgs and boson God particle as well, that they did in CERN. So anybody familiar, that virtually confirms that scientifically that there was a creation.
Oh yeah, well the Higgs boson doesn't even confirm that, to be honest. All the Higgs boson is, they found the particle that makes up the Higgs field, and the Higgs field was a field that gave subatomic particles mass, apart from the photon.
What's the God?
Well, why are you confusing everyone anyway? If that's irrelevant.
Hold on, brother. What's the God particle then?
It's that thing in your pocket, bro.
Or what is?
No, the God particle is not a God particle. What it used to be called, they used to call it the goddamn particle, because they couldn't find it. And the physicists used to say, goddamn. But they removed the damn and they called it God particle.
All it is just, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't take away God's existence or affirm it. All it is in physics, there is this thing called the Higgs field. And the Higgs field is switched on that gives subatomic particles mass. All they've done is found the building blocks of the Higgs field. They call it the Higgs boson. That's it. That's it. It's no big deal. It's just science. It's irrelevant to the discussion. Yes, sister. Yes. Talk.
How do you answer when somebody said to you, we've been created by Big Bang and that was just...
Okay, good. Very good. Now, the Big Bang theory actually supports our conclusion. Because the Big Bang theory doesn't tell you that the Big Bang created you. All it says is that there was a beginning to the universe. If the universe began, these questions still apply. Because the Big Bang was when Hubble, the American scientist, he saw luminous stars in the distant galaxies that were shifting away. So they rewound the clock, and instead of the shifting away, instead of the expansion of the universe, if you rewind the clock, it comes to a certain point in time that there was a beginning to the universe. That's what it says. There's no confusion. So when someone says, I believe in the Big Bang, agree with them. We don't deny it, but it's actually showing you that the universe began. If it began, it either came from nothing, it either created itself, or it was created. Make sense? Good. Give me 2 minutes. Now, brothers and sisters, we have to break for one, so give me a few seconds. There are many other arguments for the existence of God. For example, you can use design. So much design in the universe, there must be a designer. If you find a mobile phone in the desert, you're not going to think that a mobile phone came from the oil and the sand and somehow it created a mobile phone. You know it was designed by Nokia and someone bought it and they accidentally dropped it. There was a design process. Now if you expand that to the universe, you know the universe is far more complex than a mobile phone, so it must have been designed and created. Use your own arguments. So, what I want you to do in the next 3 minutes and then we go to lunch, is stand up in your partner. You've already done initiation, they've given you time, and let me just summarize what you have to say, but make it your own. And listen to me. Thank you for giving me your time. The way we approach the concept of Islam is using common sense and our reason. We're not going to cross the road blindfolded, for example. Would you agree? Yes. So, the first part of the process of the concept of Islam is the existence of God. We believe in God, we believe in Allah. And we have good reason for this. Now you may know that the universe began. If it began, there's only 3 possibilities. That it came from nothing, it created itself, or it was created. We know that something can't come from nothing. We know you can't create yourself, you can't give birth to yourself, just like the universe can't give birth to itself. Therefore it must be created. Now they may ask, yeah, but who created God? Well, that's a very good question, because God wasn't created. Necessarily so. Because if he was created and that goes on forever, you won't exist in the first place. We would never have a universe. Does that make sense to you so far? Yeah, it does. That's it. Make sense? Make it your own. Stand up. 3 minutes and we go for that. Question. So we discussed about common sense. We use our brains. We don't walk the street blindfolded. And therefore, we start with the beginning of the concept, which is God's existence. And we discuss one argument that the universe began. If it began, there's 3 possibilities. It came from nothing, created itself, or it was created. And then we practice this session. Now, what we're going to do is speak about oneness now. And this is very important because all we've established is that there's a creator for the universe. We haven't established the nature of this creator as yet, or the essential nature of this creator. So what I want you to do is really continue with this thinking mode, and we can conclude 5 things about this creator of the universe. To be honest, ignore the slide. It doesn't make any sense. But it's there just to help you. There are 5 things we can conclude about this creator. Number one, it must be eternal. If you remember, we discussed that this creator must be uncreated, because you can't go on forever concerning creation. You can't have an infinite chain of creators, because you wouldn't have creation in the first place. So if he's uncreated, it must mean he's eternal. It just makes basic sense. Number two, must be powerful. Why must he be powerful? Well, take the sun for example as one star amongst billions of stars in this universe. And the sun, one solar flare of the sun is equivalent to around 1,000 Hiroshima bombs. 1,000 nuclear bombs. That's one star amongst billions. So this creator is going to be powerful. This makes sense. Does everyone understand? Yes. Good. 3. Must be intelligent. Whoops, can't spell. Must be intelligent. Why? Why does this fall on the floor?
Gravity.
What law?
Gravity.
The law of?
Gravity.
I can't hear you.
Gravity.
Gravity. There are established laws in the universe. And a law, and if he created the universe with these laws, he is a lawgiver. And a lawgiver implies an intelligence. Is it simple?
Yes.
Khalas. Number 4. He must be immaterial. What do I mean by this? It means that Allah Azza wa Jal, or the Creator, is outside of His creation. And He is distinct from His creation. He is unique. As the famous classical scholars like Al-Ghazali, Ibn Taymiyyah, they said that God must be distinct and disjoined from creation. Let me give you an example. What is this?
Chair. A chair.
I can't hear you.
Chair.
It's a chair. If I created the chair, do I become the chair? No, exactly. Allah Azza wa Jalla created the universe, He doesn't become the universe. And if He was made of the universe, He wouldn't be the creator anymore. Does this make sense? Yeah. This is why the Quran says, لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ. There is nothing like Him. Make sense? Good. The 5th point, final point. He must be one. Qul huwallahu ahad. Say Allah is uniquely one. Allah is one. And we have various evidence to show He is one. First and foremost, if He's all-powerful, then you can't have two all-powerful beings. They're going to clash. Even if they start to agree and compromise, then they're not all-powerful anymore. So you can't have two all-powerful beings. Also, this creator must be one because it is the simplest and best explanation, which means it's the most rational. If you start saying this creator is 3 or 4 or 5, it creates far more problems than it solves. It means you haven't answered anything, you've just created more questions. Does everyone understand this point? So 2 pieces of evidence to show God is one. Number 1, you can't have more than one all-powerful being. There'll be chaos. Number 2, it is the simplest and best explanation. Saying He's 2 or 3 or 4 is not the simplest or best explanation. It creates far more problems than it solves. Because you question, how do these 2 or 3 creators live side by side? It creates far more questions than it answers. And in philosophy or in rational thinking, the best answer is always the simplest, but the one that answers the most questions. To say God is more than one or the Creator is more than one is not the simplest, and it creates questions rather than answers them. Does this make sense?
Yes.
Technically, this is called Occam's razor. You don't have to know, you don't have to remember what it means, but this on the technical side. So there you go. So, 1 second. So when you speak to this person, you get agreement there's an uncreated creator, because the universe is going to come from nothing, couldn't create itself, and therefore if we keep on using our brains, must be eternal because it's uncreated, powerful because there's a lot of power in the universe, intelligent because there's laws in the universe, not made of the universe because he created the universe. If you create a chair, you don't become the chair, and must be one because it's the simplest and most best explanation, and you can't have more than one all-powerful being. Make sense?
Yeah.
Easy peasy lemon?
Squeezy.
There you go. Okay, any questions up to now? Yes, sister. Number 4. My name is Bob the Builder, and I'm building this house. Do I become part of the wall? I am distinct from this building, aren't I? I am Bob the Builder, and this is the building. If you say Allah is in the universe or of the universe, it's like saying Bob the Builder is the mortar and bricks. Do you see? Just like this chair. If I make the chair, do I become the chair?
No.
And don't even say there's a chairman. I'll try to be funny. Does that make sense? It is very simple. Yes, brother.
In relation to 5, he is 1.
Yes.
There are some creeds, such as Hinduism, who believe in countless thousands of deities and stuff like that. How would you convince somebody like that? Can you give us more ammunition as if against someone who holds something?
It's a good question. The brother is saying, in regards to that God is one, can we have more ammunition? Well, I think what I've given you is enough, but the true oneness of Allah Azza wa Jal is understood also when we get to Revelation. Because to be honest, when you come to other spiritual traditions, proving He's one, you can do it rationally and based on the fitrah, but essentially, you hit the nail on the head when you talk about Quran. Because the Quran is God's announcement to mankind. So therefore, what the Quran says about Himself, God, is going to be true. If He says He's one, He's one. But we're going to discuss this later. Good. Hamza, let's go now. Let's go to the next section. Revelation. My favorite part. Wallahi, sometimes I just talk about Quran. Forget God, forget oneness, Quran. Because in a way, if you could prove Quran is from Allah Azza wa Jal, not only do you prove Allah, but you prove His one as well because the Quran said so. And then you prove Islam the truth because Islam is based on the Quran. So this is a very important part, so we need to listen very carefully. Is everyone listening?
Yeah.
Auntie G, Uncle G, Imam Sahab, everyone listening, yeah? Good. This one we spend the most time on as well. Al-Quran. Now, so you've got agreement that they have to listen to the concept of Islam, that God exists, use your common sense, God exists, and that God must be one, unique, eternal, powerful, intelligent. And then now you say, now look, if you agree with these things, isn't it more reasonable to believe that this Creator announced Himself to mankind? It just makes more sense. It makes more sense because even when we make an iPhone or a BlackBerry or a Nokia or any type of technology, inside the box you would find what? Instructions, a manual. And to be honest, you may think, well, I could use it without a manual. this is half rubbish. Because to truly use all of the facilities and use the product to its best, you have to start reading. Even the car. When you have a new car, you may know how to drive, but to use all the facilities of the car, you need to start reading the manual. How do I connect the Bluetooth? How do I use the TomTom? How do I do this? How do I do that? Things that are not part of the common sense. So if we attribute to ourselves something creative, that we give something that is less complex, like a mobile phone and manual, wouldn't the Creator send guidance for human beings? And if you think about it, look at the animal world. In the animal world, the Creator has given animals guidance. It's their instincts. If you study biology here, 1, 2, that's it. Okay, we have 3, 4 biologists. In biology, you have something called ecosystems or biological patterns or an environmental niche or a system. And the instincts are part of that system. If you see cows live their life, they just graze and eat. Sheep live their life. It says biological cycle. But human beings, if they rely just on their instincts, it will be chaos. That's why we fight all the time. Let me give you an example. There's about 150 people in this room. If I had a huge basket of bread and I had to feed you for the next 10 days, if we just relied on our instincts, I'd be using my boxing skills. Sisters were using the nail skills. We'd be fighting and killing each other if we just used our instincts. But even for just 150 people in the room, we would have to decide, what portion does everyone get? How are we going to give the bread to everybody? An environmental niche or a system. And the instincts are part of that system. If you see cows live their life, they just graze and eat. Sheep live their life. It says biological cycle. But human beings, if they rely just on their instincts, it will be chaos. That's why we fight all the time. Let me give you an example. There's about 150 people in this room. If I had a huge basket of bread and I had to feed you for the next 10 days, if we just relied on our instincts, I'd be using my boxing skills. Sisters were using the nail skills. We'd be fighting and killing each other if we just used our instincts. But even for just 150 people in the room, we would have to decide, what portion does everyone get? How are we going to give the bread to everybody? Do children get less or more? If someone steals the bread, what mechanisms do we have in place to prevent them from stealing? If they do steal, what's the punishment? If there is a punishment, what is the due process? Do you see what's happening now? Just for 150 people in a room, 10 days and a basket of bread, we need to develop some systems and guidance. Does that make sense? When I first saw this example, it was really shocking. It shows why the world's a mess. Why 2 billion people are starving because of capitalism. So we need system guidance that doesn't come from us. So it makes sense that there's a form of revelation. Now, what is this revelation? Bible, Quran, Torah, Aristotle, Plato, Aflatun in Arabic. That's how you say Plato in Arabic. Aflatun, Socrates. Yeah? Who do we listen to? Who do we listen to? Well, we need criteria to assess if a book is from God or not. And listen to the criteria. Criteria number 1. It must have a logical view on God. Why am I saying this? Because if a book says to you that God is an elephant with 12 arms and he swims in the Pacific Ocean, you ain't going to listen to that book. Because what do we agree when we discuss oneness? He must be immaterial, distinct from creation. Do you remember? So if a book is telling you he's part of creation and he's a monkey, are you going to believe that book?
No.
No.
Good. Number two, it must be consistent. On page number 1, if it says God is 1, and on page number 300, it says God is 5, there's an inconsistency. You can't believe that book. If the book says the world is flat, there's an inconsistency. You can't believe that book, so it must be consistent. Significantly, it must have miracles. Because what does a miracle mean in Islam? A miracle doesn't mean breaking natural law. Because some natural laws are just patterns. And if it breaks the pattern, maybe it's an exception. But a miracle in Islam is like the miracle of Musa alayhi salam when he threw down the staff and it became a... Did you say woman? I was trying to say snake is like a woman. Very kidding. I'll put you right in this mouth. Just to get your attention. So he threw the staff on the floor and became a snake. What did that snake do? It devoured, it ate the other snakes. This is a miracle because it is an act of impossibility. In Islamic thought, a miracle is an act of impossibility. Because you can never get an inanimate object like a staff for it to be created into a live animal without it being a miracle. This is why we believe the Quran is a miracle. Because the Quran is an act of impossibility. MashaAllah, an act of impossibility. So, this is where you come in now. Someone put their hand up and tell me one miracle of the Quran. Hand. Hands up. Yes, Auntie. Memorization. So preservation. The Quran has been preserved in the minds and hearts of thousands, if not millions, of Hufaz who have preserved the Quran. And the Quran says, and we have made this book easy to remember. And this is quite fascinating. It is the only book that is memorized cross-culturally and cross-linguistically. Like it's easy to memorize a song, isn't it? It's very easy to memorize a song in your own language. But to memorize in another language, especially the size of a book, is almost unheard of. It's very hard to do that. But the Quran achieves this. Give me another miracle. Yes, brother. How? Yes. The language miracle. Linguistic. Allah in the Quran, Surah Baqarah, verse 23 says, وَإِن كُنْتُمْ فِي رَيْبٍ مِّمَّا نَزَّلْنَا عَلَىٰ عَبْدِنَا فَأْتُوا بِسُورَةٍ مِّثْلِهِ وَادْعُوا شُهَدَاءَكُم مِّن دُونِ اللَّهِ إِن كُنتُمْ صَادِقِينَ. And if you doubt this book, we have sent down to Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, bring one chapter, uno, and call on your witnesses besides Allah, in kuntum sadiqeen, if you're truthful in your claim. According to the Mufassirun, those who explain the Quran, like Ibn Kathir, Tafsir Jalalain, the Tafsir of Al-Qurtubi, we have chains of narration attributed to Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu. And he continues. There's almost an ijma', a consensus, that this verse has something to do with the special nature
of the language of the Quran. And this came as a challenge to challenge the people of Arabia. Because in 7th century Arabia, the Arabs were the best at expressing themselves in the Arabic tongue. Western scholars describe the Arabs in the 7th century as Arabic linguists par excellence. They were the best. This is why you have the Arab historian Ibn Rashid. He says that the Arabs at the time of revelation would only celebrate on two things: the birth of a boy and when a poet rose amongst them. But the best Arabs, they failed. And we know this in the narration of Walid ibn al-Mughira. He was a polytheist, but the famous linguist of the time. When he heard the Quran, he says, by Allah, this can't come from a human being. And we know the Quran has many special features. He has a unique form, he has a lot of eloquence. And let me give you a small example. In Surah Al-Kawthar, there are so many amazing pieces of eloquence. But let me just give you one, which you could recognize even in English. Allah Azza wa Jal says, إِنَّا أَعْطَيْنَاكَ الْكَوْثَرَ فَصَلِّ لِرَبِّكَ وَانْحَرْ. First two verses. Allah starts off by saying, indeed, unquestionably, we have given you the abundance. So therefore pray to your Lord and sacrifice. What have you noticed in the first two verses? Allah mentions himself as we in the first verse and Rabb, Lord, in the second verse. There is a shift. This shift in Arabic is called iltifat, which means moving from one direction to the other. Now this shift is responsible for the dynamic character of the Quran, which enhances the effect. Let me explain why. The first verse is about ability and power. Indeed, we have given you the abundance. So we is used for majesty and ability. We have given you the abundance. So it enhances the message of ability and we have given you. The second verse, فَصَلِّ لِرَبِّكَ وَانْحَرْ, and therefore pray to your Lord and sacrifice. It has connotations of spirituality, prayer, sacrifice. So the perfect choice of pronoun is Rabb. Because what does Rabb mean? It means your master, the one that loves you, the one that nurtures you. So you see the shift. And all of these shifts in the Quran are done to enhance the meaning. They're not haphazard. This is phenomenal stuff. And this is called iltifat. This is one example. And according to Professor Abdul Halim from SOAS University in London, the School of Oriental and African Studies, he wrote a paper on this that can be found online. And he concludes the Quran uses this more than any other non-Arabic text. And the reason is a linguistic miracle, and we could prove this to non-Muslims even if you don't know Arabic. Do you know that? You don't have to know alif, ba, ta, fa, nothing. You just have to understand one thing, that no one has challenged the Quran. This is based upon authentic authority. Professor Arbuthnot, a famous British translator and Arabist, he said, although several attempts have been made to challenge the Quran, none have yet succeeded. According to West and Eastern scholarship, the majority of them, they say no one has matched the Quran. So if this is true, we don't need to know Arabic. We could just make logical conclusions. Number one, it either came from an Arab. Number two, it came from a non-Arab. Number three, it came from Muhammad upon him be peace. Number four, it came from Allah. So let's understand, could it come from an Arab? Why?
They could have introduced it.
Good. It couldn't come from an Arab because the best Arabs in the time of revelation, they couldn't produce something like the Quran.
What about today's Arab? Well, if you go to Tunisia, for example, and you point at a telephone saying, how do you say telephone? What are they going to say? Telephone, television, Michael Jackson. If you go to Iraq, it couldn't come from today's Arab because of linguistic degeneration. And in Iraq, in some villages, do you know how to say chocolate? Do you know how they say chocolate? No. Nestle. You know the company Nestle. Nestle, sorry. Alright. The first time in my life I've been corrected by freshies. Okay, so, could it come from an Arab? Well, it couldn't come from a non-Arab because you have to know Arabic. What about Muhammad upon be peace? He couldn't come from Arab because one, he was illiterate. He was not known to compete in the Ukkah's fair, debating with eloquence and poetry. He didn't cultivate the sciences of balagha, of rhetoric, Arabic rhetoric. Also, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, his speech of hadith is different from the Quran. And he maintained that over 23 years. Also, we have to understand, any human expression, any expression in human terms can always be copied. Whether it's music, whether it's painting, whether it's art. This is where we have replicas of artwork. We have replicas of artwork. As long as you have the blueprint of the original. But the Quran, we have the blueprint. But no one can use it to emulate it. If it was human expression, you'll be able to copy it. Because the blueprint exists today. So it can't be Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So the best explanation is from? Exactly. Let me give you one more miracle. Put your hands up.
Scientific miracle.
Give me another one.
History.
History.
Can I have these pictures?
Historical miracle. This is quite powerful. And listen to this one. Allah in the Quran mentions two different titles for the leader of the Egyptians. One title is Pharaoh. And that's used in the context of Musa alayhi salam. Another title is Malik and King Malik, which was used at the time of Yusuf alayhi salam. Interestingly, those two periods are different periods. Musa alayhi salam for the new kingdom in the history of Egypt. Yusuf alayhi salam is the old middle kingdom in the history of Egypt. But interestingly, at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, the Bible only mentions Pharaoh. The Torah only mentions Pharaoh. The historians of the time only mention Pharaoh. And by the way, hieroglyphics, which was the pictorial language of the Egyptians, was a dead language. The language was lost. So people claim Muhammad ﷺ was wrong. But in the 19th century, we found a Rosetta Stone that allowed us to decode hieroglyphics into languages that we know. And then we found that in the old Middle Kingdom, at the time of Yusuf alayhi salam, he was never known to be Pharaoh. He was known to be only Malik. And at the time of the new Middle Kingdom, they changed his name to Pharaoh. Where did the Prophet ﷺ get this knowledge? It's an act of impossibility because the historical knowledge was not available at the time. Simple, huh? Takbir! So there's so much more evidence in the Quran. For example, even the way he mentions words. For example, in Surah Imran, it mentions, Allah says that the likeness of Isa alayhi salam is like the likeness of Adam alayhi salam. Isa and Adam are both mentioned 25 times each in the Quran. And up to this verse, they're mentioned 7 times each. Surah Baqarah is 286 verses. Cut it in the middle. 143rd verse. What word do you find? Middle. Wasata. Middle. The Quran says, if you think this is from other than Allah, there will be ikhtilafan kathira. What you can do, you can look into the whole book and find if there's many contradictions, ikhtilafan kathira. Or if you're logical, you will find out how many times Allah mentions the word ikhtilafan. Only once. Do you see? You could take it logically. You could take it that if it was other than Allah, there would be many contradictions. But it could also mean that there could be many word contradictions. And that form is only mentioned once in the whole Quran. Phenomenal, that. Takbir! That's it. So, once you're discussing the miracles of the Quran, what you can then say, and you have to say this, is, what is the message of the Quran? It answers the most fundamental questions of life. Who am I? Whose am I? Why am I? For whom am I? Because if you think about it, this life is all about slavery. There is no freedom. The American writer once wrote that being born is like being kidnapped and sold into slavery. Because you didn't choose you're going to be a man. You a man? Last time you checked, yeah? You didn't choose you're going to be a man. Where are you from? From Pakistan? Did you choose you're going to be Pakistani? Exactly. Did you choose you're going to be a woman? Did you choose you're going to be white? Did you choose you're going to be black? You had no choice in this. You didn't even choose your parents. Alhamdulillah. So the point is, we're always enslaved to context. If we're not enslaved to context, we're enslaved to our desires, our ego, our nafs. And if we're not enslaved to our nafs, we're enslaved to someone else, the system. L'Oreal, because I'm worth it. We're enslaved to the celebrity hype and culture and what people want you to look like. This is why Ibn Qayyim said true freedom comes with ubudiyah, the worship of Allah Azza wa Jal. Because when you enslave yourself to Allah, it frees you from your ego, it frees you from your context, it frees you from social pressure. So Islam came to free you. This is why the word ruh, the soul, etymologically is related to hurriya, freedom. So next you tell the liberals and the capitalists that they're really enslaved and we're free. This is why a Muslim sister who walks into uni or school, she should not say, I'm wearing hijab because it's my choice. This is bakwas. This is rubbish. This is bull-poo. Is bull-poo. This is the sign for bull-poo. Yeah? Okay? Okay? Is this a bull? What's coming out? Yeah, exactly. Because you need to wake up. This is a wrong narrative. You wear hijab because it's obedience. But this obedience is truly liberating because they look the way they look because of social pressure. What people want them to look like. Why on earth do we buy Prada? It's still a shoe, but you want it to say Prada or Nike Air. For God's sake, it's only a shoe. It makes no difference because of social pressure. The way we look, L'Oreal because you're worth it. But a Muslim woman, when she walks out into the environment with hijab and the way she looks, she's making a statement. I'm not enslaved to social pressure. I'm not enslaved to Nike, L'Oreal or Prada. I'm not even enslaved to a man. I'm not enslaved to my desires. I'm enslaved to Allah, which frees me from these things.
Allahu Akbar.
Isn't that more liberating? A more positive narrative rather than saying, oh, it's my free choice. That's haram. Because are you saying bikini is your free choice as well? So the worship of Allah is our main purpose. إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. We've been created to worship Allah. And worship is comprehensive. It doesn't just mean prayer. It means so many different things. The deity you love the most. The thing that you go for authority. The thing that you go for need and help. So our whole life is worship. And then when we do this successfully, we enter Jannah, paradise. And if we don't do it successfully, we go to hell. So let me summarize before you practice it, before we go for prayer. Need for revelation makes sense. When you make something, we give it a manual. But how do we know what book is from the God? 3 criteria. Number 1, it's logical view of God. Number 2, consistent. Number 3, it's got miracles. Some of these miracles include linguistic, preservation, historical. And the Quran came to liberate you by worshipping Allah. And our main purpose is to worship Allah, which not just about prayer, but it's a whole world view. The thing that you take as authority, you single Him out for help and worship. And at the end of the day, it's like a paradise or hell. You go 3-4 minutes, stand up and practice. Bismillah. Just this section. Come on, let's go. The reason